Hello, friends. My name is Carmen Gerea, and I'd like to welcome you to a new episode of the Freed podcast. My guest today is Rashina Gajjar. This episode is our first attempt at a bilingual podcast. But what is this madness? Well, as many of you know, I'm Romanian, I live in Chile, and I have friends, colleagues, and clients all over the world. That's why I've made it my goal to expand this lab of ideas and continuous learning beyond borders. With today's guest, we recorded half of the conversation in English and the other half in Spanish. Rashina also speaks and works in several languages. So welcome to this experimental interview. First, you'll hear the conversation in English, where we talk about Rashina's transition from marketing and sales to coaching. In the second part, we'll dive into limiting beliefs in a Spanish conversation. Rashina Gajjar is a transformational belief coach who has advised CEOs and entrepreneurs around the world, including TEDx speakers and multi-million-dollar business owners. A former United Nations consultant and storyteller, Rashina witnessed the transformational power of belief while advising hundreds of businesswomen on storytelling, transforming the stories they tell themselves and the wider world. She now works with international women and business owners to help them transform their limiting beliefs and grow their businesses to the next level. It's my first attempt to do like a bilingual podcast episode, and I'm glad we can do this together because we've been working together. Can we tell the people how we got to meet and how we work together?
Yes, so the year was 2019 and I had just moved to Spain. I was living in Sevilla and I had just become a United Nations consultant to work on this series of storytelling projects in Central America. And the lovely person that was assigned on my team was Carmen. And so we actually had the opportunity to do several year-long projects together and to get to know each other in the trenches of reinventing many, many words and marketing concepts and stores for businesses all across Central America. It was really amazing.
Rashina, tell us more about your marketing career. Like how did you get to marketing, copywriting, sales, and then eventually as this digital marketing world?
So I was kind of drafted in a way. I ended up for my year abroad for my Erasmus. I did a internship with a Luxembourg-based marketing agency. So they kind of decided for me, like they saw that I was really good with words, and so they gave me a lot of copywriting projects. And so I ended up working on really big projects with brands like Columbia Sportswear and L'Occitane. And this was really the start of my copywriting career. And once I saw that I could do that, I started taking on freelance clients. So I was working even throughout the rest of my university degree on marketing projects. When I graduated, I got a job in sales in a corporate company. And they invested $70,000 into training me in sales. So I literally had all of this information kind of downloaded into my mind. And then when I started working for myself, which was in 2019, I integrated all of this. So I then thought, okay, I know a lot about sales. I've been doing copywriting. How can I help businesses to grow through the knowledge that I've developed in these two fields?
And how did you feel during that time? Like what wasn't fulfilling enough, or what was no longer fitting for you at that time?
So I think at the time, I enjoyed it and I could see that I was growing. I think for me, growth is incredibly important. So when I am in the process of learning and growing, I'm happy. But I think at a certain point, I just felt like I had really pushed it to the max. So what happened was I was working with the UN. I was doing these incredible projects with you. Then I started my own marketing agency and I was working on projects and campaigns for companies all around the world. We did talks and workshops even with big corporations. So I kind of felt like I had really pushed and I got a lot of learning out of it. And at some point I just thought, okay, I know a lot about this now, so I'm not so thrilled anymore. Like it's not something that is kind of developing my skill set. And I need to really find my purpose and what I really want to be doing on this earth. So it was kind of that type of realization of I'm really good at this and I happen to be able to do it very well for clients, which is why I was even able to be successful in that field. But beyond happening to be good at something, where do I really want to focus my efforts and intentions?
So you kind of unlearned afterwards, right? What does unlearning really mean to you? Like once you acquired all this knowledge, expertise, and then one day you decide, to switch path.
I think unlearning to me is about kind of challenging what you have admitted as truth and what you have imbibed in your journey and choosing for yourself. And I think at the beginning of our careers, we really don't have so much of a choice. We just have to learn what is out there and, receive it, because we don't have the ability so much to evaluate it for ourselves. And then when you gain experience, you're then able to see, okay, what is truth for me? What feels right for me? What is a narrative, or what is a concept that I accepted that I don't really think is true anymore. So an example of that is your salary and how much you're earning at a certain point in your career. And for me, that came very early because I was earning very well at the beginning of my 20s because I was in sales. So I hit a certain salary point where I thought, okay, I'm making more than enough money, but I'm not happy. So what do I need to do next? That was an unlearning moment for me, because I had been taught that this is really important. As a young graduate, you want to be trying to get up the salary ladder. So I think for me, this concept of unlearning extends to every area of your life. And when you have existed in the world sufficiently and seen and tried enough things, you then start to realize that a lot of the things that you unquestioningly thought were true and just kind of, that you imported into your own consciousness, some of those things you don't really want to believe them anymore, and you don't want to stand by them. And so that's where you naturally start to begin that process of unlearning.
Why do you think it's so hard to let go? Life habits, because we get used to a certain way.
It's hard to let go because we're creatures of habit and comfort. And I think that as human beings, we create our own communities and systems and just life patterns that bring us comfort and stability. And when you begin the process of unlearning, you are invited to release some of that. So sometimes you have to release toxic friendships or toxic people in your life, or maybe you have to release a behavior that you really liked, but it wasn't actually serving your broader purpose. I think that this can be very uncomfortable for people because that process of release and that shedding is taking you away from what is known and what is comfortable.
You concluding that you needed a change. Is it something that you did by yourself? You got help? How is that process? Is it more like about introspection, about the context, surrounding yourself with the right people? How was that for you?
I think that every person has their own timing. I really believe in divine timing. I think that we're always being supported by various different situations that crop up, and just kind of within our own lives, we have a lot of support and a lot of kind of external circumstances that help us to move to where we need to be. But beyond that, I think that we each have our own individual clock of when is it time to make a change, So to give you an example, there's someone that I know who's been living in the same city for many years now and has a very comfortable life, and she keeps telling me that she wants to move to a different country. That's her internal clock that's saying to her, time's up, you're perfectly comfortable, but something needs to change, and now is your moment to change it. And I think that for me, that's how I've always done things. I've always known, when is it time to leave? When is it time to move to a new city? When is it time to move to a new job? When is the situation that I'm in too unbearable, even if it's comfortable, even if it's nice, for me to still be in it? And because I'm someone who grows a lot and who evolves a lot, then I have to become attuned to that clock, because otherwise it's very easy to just stay in the same place and to kind of accept things that maybe you don't really want in your life anymore. I think that clock is very different for each person, and there's no right or wrong when it comes to people's trajectories. It really happens in your own time, with your own kind of pace.
Because there's this, even we talk about this science of timing. And actually, there are like times in life where, for example, when you get a new job, or when you have a child, or when close to your 40s, for example, people tend to like run more marathons and like do, crazy things in their life. And there's this science that says that when big events came into our life, or there's a huge, for example, for example, demi context, like we tend to, have more conversation with ourselves that brings us to big changes. And I'm like super fascinating the science of timing. So now that you're into coaching, can you tell us a little bit more about how is your role like working with women? Before like specific questions about limiting beliefs, but how's a day with Rashina now?
So I actually have quite a flowy cadence when it comes to how I work. So I like to have a lot of space in the morning. I then have belief sessions with clients where we're working on a specific limiting belief. And I also then have a lot of conversations with communities about how I can show up and do guest sessions and workshops and partnerships. A lot of that's kind of how we manage to scale impact, is through having conversations with women from different communities around the world. So these could be online communities, these could be in-person spaces. So for example, tonight I'm going to be showing up at a co-working space and doing something with them. Just wherever I am, essentially, I try to just show up and be in support of communities of women and entrepreneurs. And yeah, I like to keep a very varied day. I'm someone who enjoys variety. And I also think that in order to do this kind of work, you need to also be deeply fulfilled and happy yourself. So for me, my biggest kind of priority is how can I make myself fulfilled and happy? And that one of the answers that has come up is just having a very kind of rich spectrum of activities in my day and in my weekly life. So that's something that I try to respond to.
Well, sounds consistent, actually. And are there things that you still keep from your like marketing background? I don't know, skills, activities, content creation, and so on. Like,
yes, it's really funny because having a marketing and storytelling background, it really then becomes some kind of an occupational hazard. Like for me, I really can't unsee through the lens of branding. Like it's very difficult for me to not see branding or naming or titling. So for example, with my website, which is houseofrashina.com, when I created that website, it took me over a year to really build something that I was happy with because of the branding, because of the storytelling. I wanted it to really feel like something that aligned with who I am and my standards that I've set for myself based on having worked in the industry. So I think it's something that really, from the very beginning, I knew that because I have this background and this understanding, I wanted to create something that really reflected that and was able to exist at a high level within the marketing and storytelling spheres. And it's the same with how I name things and how I talk about things. I really want to introduce storytelling into every aspect of what I do, even within coaching, because I've seen its power. I've worked with it. So I think that this is something that for sure I carry through. And I think it would be impossible to even extricate because of the way that this kind of work just shapes your mind.
Okay, so you kind of transformed the marketing you are doing for other people and your skills in marketing and expertise in skills for yourself, which is even more consistent. And Rashina, tell me, what would you say to someone that maybe feels kind of stuck or misaligned, hasn't yet figured the way forward to like what's next in their life?
So as I mentioned earlier, one thing that I think is really important is that everyone has their own timing. And I think it's important to deconstruct traditional notions of time. So we have been taught to see time as a ladder, and we've been taught, okay, by this age, you will have accomplished X, Y, and Z. And by this age, these are the things that you'll be doing in your life. And I just think that this is totally misaligned with the next generation and the next wave of thinkers that is emerging on this planet. And we really need to kind of unravel that perception of time. So, for example, if you are right now in a space where you don't know what you're doing with your life and you're a little bit lost and you're exploring options, please don't put additional pressure on yourself thinking that you have to be somewhere by next year or by the year after. It could be that you maybe take a little bit longer to work through it and to find out what you really want to do. And then you find something that you become really good at, and that becomes so impactful that it changes the whole world. And that could be for decades. So really thinking it doesn't need to be sorted out right now. It doesn't need to, all the answers don't need to show up this second or this week or this month. You can take your time to explore at a very deep level what you want to do, how you want to do it, to ask questions to people, to get to know yourself and see different facets of yourself. And then as you're finding those answers, you can easily jump to a version of yourself that is very successful very quickly. It doesn't need to happen in the traditional route that we've all been taught. So then don't worry so much about the time pressure and about, where you're at right now. I really think that when people are in this place of being lost, they pressure themselves a lot because they think that they should be in XYZ place. Very like, I should be doing this with my life, so why am I not? And I think that this kind of obscures the truth from you because you're trying to get something out of yourself immediately. Also, really important to realize that many people are very overworked and very stressed. So it takes time to just relax the body and to get to a point where your mind and your body is sufficiently relaxed for any kind of insight to emerge. So this is kind of what I would say for anyone who's really in a place right now where they're questioning where they want to be or where they are. Don't pressure yourself. Don't underestimate what can be achieved in, let's say, in 2 years or in 3 years or however much time. Don't underestimate also how a quick revelation might be able to ripple. And please try and relax and give yourself peace and space so that you can get to the insights that you need that are truthful.
Before we jump into the leaves conversation, just quick question that popped to mind. Well, two questions actually. First one, what about AI? Like now you being a little bit like into marketing, but more like marketing as a tool. You see AI today in terms of the tremendous changes we are having in many industries, in the way we work, in the way we like interact. How what's your perspective on this?
So I think that AI is something that is really accelerating how people work at a lot of different levels. But the one thing that it is not able to do is to tap into creativity, human creativity. So it's really important now more than ever that people become more in tune with their own essence and their own creativity so that they can be of value to themselves in society, because we don't know what things are going to be like in 5 or 10 years, but most certainly things that are routine and procedure will be being taken by AI for sure. And I think that because AI is bringing in this support role within our lives in most industries, it places a higher value on human consciousness. So you being able to deepen your consciousness, to open yourself up, to discover more of yourself and to think in new ways becomes increasingly important. And I don't think that your value is determined by how useful you are to society within the labor market. But for sure, I think that the labor market mirrors the importance of humans learning how to think in new ways and doing their own development, which I think is actually a really positive shift.
My second question, also kind of related to your marketing background and you using marketing as a tool, and on the other side, your new role as a coach. Well, sometimes they say it's difficult to say no to like new project because there's always something interesting coming up. So does it happen to you, like people from your like marketing past, they say, asking you to take on new projects or like to help them? And if so, how do you manage it? Do you say no? Do you say yes? And you manage both roles? Yeah, just curious to know more about this.
So it does happen, and it has happened many times, but I'm very selective about who I still work with. I think I only have one person that really refuses to leave me. And because I really love that person and I love what they're doing in the world, then I'm very happy to consult on certain things just because I want that work out there into the planet. So it's really case by case basis, but I really try to focus on the path that I'm on now. And the people that I'm still working with, it's very, very few, very, very few. And I would say the only marketing work that I've done in the last year is working with this one client that I just adore and think that they're the best, and doing some talks at universities on marketing. And even the talks that I did on marketing and storytelling, I integrated belief into them. So increasingly, even the talks that I've done at universities and communities over the last year that had anything to do with marketing, integrated belief as well, which I thought was really interesting, actually.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rashina. So,
My pleasure.
Well, we've reached the end of this episode of the Freed podcast. If you enjoy our content, remember to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new video to YouTube. And if you'd like to help us reach more professionals, share our videos. We'll meet again soon in a new episode.